Welcome to Alzheimer's Sunrise, lighting the way for patients and caregivers on Legends 100.3, brought to you by Alzheimer's Community Care, providing help and hope for thousands of families for the past 20 years. Here's Mary Barnes, CEO of Alzheimer's Community Care.
Good morning and welcome to Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio 100.3 FM. My name is Karen Gilbert. I am a registered nurse and I work as Vice President for Education and Quality Assurance for Alzheimer's Community Care.
And I'm Mary Barnes. I'm President and CEO of Alzheimer's Community Care, and we're here to shine a light and a path for our caregivers and families. We have a special guest today, and Karen and I have been working with Leah for many moons. Mm-hmm. And the latest challenge, and Leah's a very special person. She is always willing to try something that's innovative and something new. And we came to her because she has been a caregiver. She's always a caregiver to all of us because she always worries about all of us and doing certain things around the office. And we talked about a Live Alone program because we became very, very aware that we have a very healthy population in the community that do, either for whatever reason, they become alone. Either their wives have died or whatever, they move down here and aging in place, and all of a sudden there's a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or some other neurocognitive disorder, and yet they're still alone. And many of our live alones could be still driving and not having the ability to also, connect with other people. And so in knowing about, we have live alones, and then we have caregivers. We have live alones, and we have caregivers. And our caregivers are no longer taking care of a person anymore, their loved one, whether it's the mother, father, whether it's their husband or wife. And so we got kind of our heads together and we said, why don't we cultivate caregivers to come up with this program? And Leah was one of our caregivers. And we started developing this model of what would a care buddy and a live alone program look like at Alzheimer's Community Care. And I approached Leah, and all of a sudden she thought that was a great idea. And tell me why you like that approach so much.
Mary, when you came to me with that idea of the Live Alone project, I said, you started explaining to me and giving me your thoughts, but immediately I said, sign me up. It wasn't even off the ground yet, but I said, sign me up. The major reason I said, sign me up, and I want to speak to the people out there who are listening who are caregivers. I was a caregiver to my mother. My mother would have been a candidate for this program because she was a live alone. She was widowed. And my husband and I both worked. We couldn't take her in. Of course, we were there for her, but she lived alone. And having someone, a care buddy, as I'm called now, reach out to a person who lives alone and what time is best for them. Some people are morning people, some prefer something in the evening or the afternoon. It's very, very important that they can connect with another person, the community, that they feel like someone cares and someone's there to listen to them.
And that is so important when you have a live alone. And the other thing is, it's so hard for organizations that want to do good and want to reach out, and they're always amazed because nobody asks us for help. But that's because a live alone, part of the process of the disease is paranoia. Mm-hmm. Don't trust people. Mm-hmm. So that's why Alzheimer's, we often call it an insidious disease, because of the fact that it affects their behavior. And one of them, and being the kind of organization we are, because we are so specialized when it comes to Alzheimer's, and having caregivers that are experts because they are the ones that have lived it, you have this inner ear, this inner listening and critical thinking process that makes this program so wonderful and unique, but so doable.
It's very doable, Mary. And yes, as a caregiver to my mom, I kind of liken it to when you're on an airplane or a bus, or a bartender, you'll tell somebody something that you would never tell your nearest, dearest, friends, family. The other thing, too, is I found with Live Alones, they don't want to burden their family. They don't want to, my daughter or my son, they're very busy and they have the kids and I don't want to. But they will talk to their care buddies. And we have, my other fellow care buddies, we've been able to do things, and actually Alzheimer's Community Care has been able to do things for those that live alone, to make sure they're safe, to make sure they're eating properly, to know about their financial situations. Are they seeing their doctors? Are they keeping their appointments? What meds are they taking? Are they having any problems? And like I say, they will open up to us, and they do open up to us, and we are able to help.
And we're going to come back to that thought in just a moment. If you're just joining us, this is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio 100.3 FM. We are Alzheimer's Community Care, and you can reach us at 561-683-2700. You can send us an email to info@alzcare.org. That is ALZCARE.org. And that address is the same as our website. So we urge you to visit our website, where we have a tremendous amount of information. And if you've missed prior discussions here on Legends Radio, you can actually access them right through our homepage. So
one of the things that we're so excited about with this whole concept, you all, as caregivers, have designed this program. You all have had you've given us leadership as the facilitators that we are, but you've taught us on what would be the way to make this program and this whole approach so more effective. And you approved the questions. Mm-hmm. You approved the concept of the way we would reach out. You even approved the eligibility and you even came up with a job description of what a care buddy should be all about. Now, this wasn't done overnight. This was done over a period of months and through experience and what was going on. And that's what was so exciting, because we already know a lot of things about that live alone. Mm-hmm. We know they're afraid because they know they're losing their memory. We know that they're concerned about sharing other thoughts with their family because, as you say, they don't want to burden their family, and yet they have so much pent up inside of them. Some of your calls can be 5 minutes. It could be depend on the time of day or what's going on with that live alone, or you might spend 2 hours on the phone. You've got several of your care buddies that you call that you really got a real relationship going, meaning that they're open and they're so glad to hear you and find out what's going on. Tell me about some of those.
Well, I'm very fortunate. I have all my live alones are wonderful, and I call them my care buddies because I think we take care of each other, really. It's amazing. They come from all walks of life, of course, and I have learned so much from the people on the other end of the phone. I've learned history. I've learned a myriad of things. But here's something that meant a lot to me, Mary. When I was speaking to one of my care buddies, and after we got the rapport going and getting to know each other, I asked her, it happened to be during the summertime, the heat of the summer, and as we were going into winter, and what I found out is, no, she did not feel safe in her home. Why? Because her back door was warped and it could not be locked. Oh. No, her air conditioning and heat was not working. There were window units in her home. There was a problem with, she uses a walker, and there was a problem with her front porch railing. Well, I wrote these down in my notes, and you and other people at Alzheimer's Community Care took the bull by the horn, and you found an appropriate venue to help her. I mean, literally help her. Her back door was replaced, her railing was replaced and repaired, and her window units, new ones were installed.
That's true. That's true. And that's because, but it was just a subtle comment that she made that you latched onto.
Yeah.
And you picked up her anxiety, which really not everybody would listen for that and be able to pick it up.
Well, we started first talking about the weather. And, of course, that's when she told me that her air conditioners were not working, or her heat cycle either. And then from there, we got around to the back door, we got around to the railing, just by conversation, as you would have with any friend.
And so often these programs that you get funding for don't always get to the right people.
Exactly, but yours did.
And yes, and the fact that we have those other types of communications out there with our other care buddies, we have veterans. And we have learned from the veterans, because we've gone to a couple of American Legion posts, and we've talked to the veterans there, and they taught us that veterans talk to veterans.
Yes.
And so we understand that. And so now we're recruiting veterans to be care buddies. We get a little more education to doing with them, because some of them are not natural care buddies because of the fact they haven't had Alzheimer's in their family. But you know what? They're right about the fact that veterans talk to veterans.
Absolutely.
So.
And not too long ago, Mary, we were talking about potential exploitation, and unfortunately, particularly older people and those who have a neurocognitive disorder may fall victim to scams that are out there. And this is another area where our care buddies are listening. If a patient were to say all of a sudden, oh yes, I have a new friend who helps me pay my bills, well, we kind of need to explore that a little bit and make sure that that is on the up and up, and that they're not taking advantage of this person. If you're just joining us, this is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio 100.3 FM. This is Alzheimer's Community Care, and you can reach us at 561-683-2700. We encourage you to visit our website, alzcare.org, and that's ALZCARE.org. And if you would like to send us an email, the address is info@alzcare.org. And if you do, please tell us you heard us on Legends Radio. So we're talking about how vital this service is, a care buddy communicating with a patient who's living alone, who may be in earlier stages of Alzheimer's or related disorder. But with this support, with someone checking in, conversing with them on a weekly basis, and looking into, are they eating? Are they keeping up with their medical appointments? As you said, do they feel safe? Do they have money for what they need? Are they socializing? Are they seeing other people and talking to other people? We really believe we ultimately can help them stay independent longer.
The other lessons learned we learned from all of you, and you, Leah, being one of our stars, we learned that bringing everybody together every quarter, we bring and we talk about their experiences. And that's where the bonding goes on. And this is where we see, that's why we know this program is going to grow, because it has roots.
It has roots, and just like a family, and really isn't Alzheimer's Community Care a family?
A family, exactly.
I believe, as you rightfully say, we put a safety net around patients and caregivers. And I know from experience, Mary, indeed you do. But getting back to your point about coming together, when all the care buddies get into a room and we start sharing our experiences.
We can't write fast enough.
No, we're not just there for the lunch. We really share, and we learn from each other. And more importantly, we even learn from our live-alones, what they need, What's important to them? Not everybody's the same, of course, but what's important to them? What can we do for them?
And you also inspire each and every one of you between how you pick up and learn and listen. Some are more conversant than others.
True.
And some feel more comfortable as they learn more, that they realize what the direction is that a certain relationship and other things or needs. And then you also make a comment, and others have done so too, that there's somebody getting in trouble. There's someone, like we talked about getting the air conditioned, but then there's other things that go on. And they're missing appointments, and they weren't aware that they were supposed to go. And they, like you say, they may not say that to everyone, but they will share that with a care buddy because they trust. And and the way the care buddy listens helps them even open up more.
And an important point to add to that, Mary, is what we started with, and that is anonymity.
Yes.
They know me on the phone. They know my name, but they will never.
Leah.
Yes, but they will never meet me. I'm not going to their home, bringing them to mine. It's all on the phone. And that could be as often or not as necessary. Like you said, there were some that I could stay on the phone hours with them. And then there were some that, I do have an appointment, and so it isn't long, but on the phone. But every time I speak to them, I always learn something.
Yep. And having the ability, we're going to go into another phase, thanks to you, about actually getting a cell phone.
Yes.
And the cell phone, it'll be like a jitterbug, and it'll be something, again, linked to Alzheimer's Community Care, so the anonymity is preserved. Mm-hmm. We may, in time, as we grow, even have a Alzheimer's email. Mm-hmm. And this is all over a period of time. As we feel that, especially newer patients that come on board, newer live-alones, that are probably more sophisticated, more into technology. Because here's the other side of this. We have early onset patients. Mm-hmm. And they may end up, especially those who are veterans, may end up more being alone. So we're going to have to get creative. We're going to have to think out of the box. But that's what's the fun part about this.
It's the fun part, and ACC does such a great job thinking out of the box.
We try.
You succeed. But when the jitterbugs, the cell phones were brought up, we care buddies just love that, because there are so many times where I'm supposed to call at 10 o'clock, but I didn't call at 10, somebody was out. I can pick up the jitterbug and call them. What's convenient for both of us?
That's right.
And I can keep in touch. And maybe it's not once a day. Maybe it's twice a day. Maybe it's a couple of times a week.
Or maybe even on the weekends.
Absolutely.
But it depends on what you all work out, and you get in touch with them. So it keeps that balance.
Absolutely.
It keeps that balance of your life and their life, mm-hmm. but also knowing that they've got that care buddy out there that sooner or later is going to be calling them.
If you're just joining us, this is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio 100.3 FM. This is Alzheimer's Community Care. Today we're talking about our Live Alone project. We can be reached at 561-683-2700. You can send us an email at info@alzcare.org, alzcare.org, which is also our website address. And if you do reach out to us, please tell us you heard us on Legends Radio. I'd like to mention, Mary, for a moment that this project began through a federal grant that we were awarded. And again, we made a presentation to the federal government. This was actually one of 4 objectives that we proposed, but a very, very critical one, to address a population that is really at risk without this kind mm-hmm. of help. And even though the grant is for a 3-year period, we have designed this program to be sustainable, and we're committed to it, and it will continue. And based on the work of amazing volunteers like Leah, it can be sustainable, and it's actually growing. And more former caregivers are joining and linking with Live Alone patients in the community and expanding this. So we're thrilled.
Here was the hard part about us. The federal government, they're great ones for saying, evidence-informed or evidence-based.
Evidence-based.
And every time we looked for a live alone project, they kind of failed. They kind of failed because they didn't have the infrastructure and they didn't have the capacity within their own programs. They were always going to the aging network. And they were always, and not that that's bad, don't get me wrong, but that's not where you are. No. That's not where our caregivers are.
We're one-on-one.
They're linked through bonding, either support groups or it's other kind of services. They're not out there in the community. So we are rich with caregivers. We are rich with understanding the needs of our patients and needs of even the live-alones. So putting this together, and we have found that it is successful. Now that we've come up with this model of how this is going to be replicated all over the country, because we're going to be doing...
Teach the country.
That's right. That it's a plight everywhere. They all agree it's a plight all over. We may even do a presentation at some national conference just on the Live Alone project, and we could give the forms, the job descriptions, the logging, the whole fundamental basis for who's eligible, and what happens in a case when we have a live alone that's getting into trouble. And because of that trust, and I can't emphasize the trust, and the dynamics that you bring as being a friend, just because you get Alzheimer's doesn't mean you can't have the ability to make a friend.
And Mary, I think some of those prior studies that we looked at in establishing this program failed because they were trying to work with people too late in the disease.
Yes.
So they weren't really able to remain independent in the community. Our structure assesses for that, and we identify those who, without this support, would likely decline with a time frame that would make them ineligible to continue living safely alone in the community. So I think that's been critical. We're identifying those who may have mild impairment, early impairment, but with this support, we can actually help them stay independent longer. And it's not just us. We have lots of community partners, things like Meals on Wheels, transportation services. We know we can't do it alone, but we're identifying the needs and then linking them with other services.
And that was the next phase we were going to talk about, is our care partners. Because we understand the dynamics of the disease, and we understand what happens when we have a live alone. We know one thing, even going in as a new relationship, they're never really alone. Somebody is in there, good or bad. Somebody is in there. And we build on that. So far, we've been very fortunate that everything's been good, that there hasn't been anyone out there, that really has been in any kind of state of abuse, of exploitation. But we never know, and we're prepared for that. And I know that our care buddies would pick it up very quickly and would really be able to help us be more dynamic in this endeavor, and being able to link services and linking security systems, because that's what we're good at as well.
That's what I want the caregivers who are listening to really understand. What might be happening, that you don't know about. Anything missing from the house? Don't know, that lovely pair of earrings, whatever. It's true, Mama could have misplaced them, but you don't know. You don't know if they're no longer doing their own finances, for example. Someone else's, I had a live alone. Someone was coming in. Someone was paying all the bills. Now my live alone used to do that. Okay. Next thing you know, she says to me, Leah, I don't know how much money I have anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. And so when I reported that to my program manager, it was brought to the attention, of course, at ACC, and an in-home
visit was done.
That's right. Yep. And everything was on the up and up.
Yep.
But you never know.
Right. You never know.
And of course, if it's not, it's great that we are able to intervene early and get this person the resources they may need to protect their financial assets.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we can do it early enough where there's no real damage. And that's why we try to make as a criteria, we try to get in there as building the relationship. We do this BIM score, which is accepted by the Center for Disease Control.
Well,
the
Medicare
Center
Services actually uses it.
That's
yes,
right.
as their required cognitive test in nursing homes and skilled rehabilitation patients.
And it gives us a chance to build that relationship because we know that person's not in trouble. And that's why we try to do it right.
It gives us a measure of their cognitive status so we know if even they're eligible really to be safe
alone
at home. Well, thank you for joining us. Again, this is Alzheimer's Sunrise, shining a light on patients and caregivers on Legends Radio, 100.3 FM. If you have questions or would like information on any of the services and resources we provide, or specifically the Live Alone Project, please call us at 561-683-2700. You can also send us an email. The address is info@alzcare.org, ALZCARE.org, and alzcare.org is also our website. Do tell us you heard us on Legends Radio.
And to think that with this, anybody that wants to volunteer and get involved, that would be
Yes.
wonderful.
Listen out there, caregivers. Give us a call.
And Leah, it's been fast and it's been unbelievably, and
Thank you for having me.
well, it's just innovative, and your enthusiasm and your caring can't be matched.
Oh, thank you.
It's priceless. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Alzheimer's Sunrise, lighting the way for patients and caregivers. To learn more about the help and hope available from Alzheimer's Community Care, call 561-683-2700 or visit alzcare.org. That's ALZcare.org. Tune in next Sunday at 6:30 for another edition of Alzheimer's Sunrise, lighting the way for patients and caregivers right here on Legends 100.3.